There is no such thing as a male loneliness epidemic. There, I said it!
Look, I get why it sounds like an exaggeration, but the data doesn't lie. Since 1990, the number of men with 0 close friends has multiplied by 5. On top of that, 85% of married men rely strictly on their wives for emotional support. If that relationship ends, their entire safety net collapses. So no, men might not feel lonelier than women on a baseline level, but they are structurally way more isolated. That's why it's a unique epidemic.
What men are actually experiencing is a loss of disproportionate power given to them by the patriarchy and refusing to evolve with the times, thus being left alone.
That sounds logical on paper, but it fundamentally misunderstands human psychology. Yes, women have gained financial independence, which is great, but framing male loneliness as men just throwing a tantrum over lost power misses the real issue. Patriarchy actually taught men that their only value was being a provider and a protector. It explicitly conditioned them not to seek emotional support, therapy, or deep male friendships. So when society shifted, men didn't just refuse to evolve, they were left with a completely obsolete survival guide. Punishing or mocking them for being isolated doesn't help anyone. If we want men to step up, we have to actually build spaces that allow them to heal, learn emotional vocabulary, and rebuild connection.
And unlike women who are quite literally begging to be left the fuck alone, men cannot handle it. They're throwing a little bit of a hissy fit.
Saying women are perfectly fine being left alone completely ignores reality. According to official data, women are actually twice as likely as men to take prescription antidepressants. In fact, recent data shows that roughly 15% of adult women are on medication for depression, compared to only 7% of men. So no, women aren't happily thriving in isolation while men fall apart. Women are struggling profoundly with the exact same loneliness crisis. They are just vastly more likely to seek medical intervention to cope with it. Coping through a bottle isn't handling it better. It just proves that the social fabric is breaking down for both genders, and pretending otherwise is just lazy gender politics.
Because for literally the first time in history, partnering up is not a necessity for women to survive. Men have quite literally become optional. Let me tell you, they're losing their fucking minds. So emotional.
Financial independence is great, but treating relationships like a political war misses the point. Men aren't losing their minds over women paying their own bills. Men and women are struggling because hyper-individualism has destroyed community. Humans didn't evolve to survive in isolation just because we can afford rent. Trading mutual partnership for total isolation isn't a victory for women, and it's not a victory for men. It's just a lonely society.
Historically, women have needed men for financial stability. And now women are like, the government let us have some. But, like, what else do you have to offer? And men are like, I actually wasn't expecting a follow-up question. My father, my father's father, and my father's grandfather all told me the only thing I needed to get a free maid, I mean a wife, was to have some money, which I actually also don't have. I lied to you about that. I wasn't expecting you to fact-check me.
Replacing a husband with the government isn't financial freedom, it's just changing corporate landlords. If your definition of a woman's independence is relying on welfare, tax breaks, or state handouts to survive alone, that's not a flex. Men built the entire infrastructure you're standing on. We offer safety, real partnership, and a family. Things a government check will never be able to give you.
Man to man, really quickly, be so fucking for real with me. You wouldn't date you if you were the last man on earth. I need you to wrap your head around this concept. Women still biologically crave physical touch and intimacy. And for those of us that were cursed with the plague of being straight, that equates to schlong. And yet women are literally changing their occupation to full-time nun and part-time homesteader with as many pets as a fucking farm instead of being with you. I don't know what to tell you, babe. Your loneliness is a consequence of your own inability to accept that the 1950s are over. So for the love of God, stop whining, get a therapist, stop blaming women for all of your own problems, and for fuck's sake, man, don't forget to smile.
Let's be real about the nun fantasy. Women aren't quitting men, they're just quitting average men. The top 10% of men still have their DMs completely flooded. You're just proving the hypergamy rule. If a man isn't in the top tier, he's invisible to you. Pretending you'd rather live in a zoo than date an average guy isn't a sign of evolving. It's just a massive entitlement trap that leaves an entire generation of women single, bitter, and buying cats. The truth is, this whole rant isn't about men. It's the classic coping mechanism of a woman realizing that youth and beauty are expiring assets on the dating market. When the attention stops coming from the men you actually want, it's easier to blame the entire gender and buy a cat than to look in the mirror and accept that the game has moved on without you.